Hi everyone, today I am doing a rewatch of Twin Peaks. I'm up to episode 15 called Drive with a Dead Girl. It's directed by Caleb Deschanel and written by Scott Frost. When this series originally aired, I think after the reveal, there was kind of maybe a lot of audience members who kind of thought, well, what's the point watching, because that's all I really cared about. That was the whole driving force of the show. Obviously I was one of the ones who didn't drop off. For me, the reason that I kept watching was because one of the major reasons was because I was invested in Cooper's character. I think that he is such an interesting person to root for, to find out how his story will end, I think, in the world of Twin Peaks. However, I do think that this, the post-reveal episodes going right into the end of season 2 do start to, from now, I think they start to lose a little bit of quality, and they start bringing in like superfluous characters who, I have to admit that when I'm doing a rewatch of Twin Peaks, sometimes when I get to like maybe a couple of episodes from now, my interest does start to drop off a little bit, and I kind of sometimes just abandon the whole thing. Or sometimes I will get to maybe episode 18 or something and then skip to the end. And that's coming from like me, and I consider myself to be kind of like a hardcore fan. So I guess that this latter part of season 2 is kind of hard, maybe hard for a lot of people to take, to watch. I mean, I don't know, it loses something, but whether that's connected to the Laura Palmer mystery not being there anymore, I don't know. I'm not sure that that is the whole answer to it. I think that there is a general shift in kind of the whole style of the show. I think that there is a shift towards a more comedic kind of sense, and I think that the fact that they bring in new characters who aren't interesting, who aren't as well written, who aren't characters that we have invested in from the early episodes, I think that really detracts a lot. And also the whole kind of core of the Twin Peaks characters, they feel more displaced. So I like this beginning where we see the house kind of highlighted in darkness and shadow, and this horrendous music is kind of giving us a sense that something horrific has happened, something dark has enveloped this house, and a sense of evil permeates through the windows, the walls. As we pan into the Palmer household and we see these photos of Laura again kind of haunting the place, it's unexpected that we see Leland just hitting golf balls like nothing has bloody well happened, as a fucking hell. So we see Leland here, and he has this affectation. He seems slightly, wound up, excited, like he's trying to restrain his excitement about what he's just done to Madeline. It seems to be evident that Bob is kind of still riding high on that adrenaline, that Garmin Bozier rush that he's just had, and he's trying hard to compose himself, I think, to kind of act normal. James and Donna come over, and there is kind of a look between them when Leland says, "I thought that you were coming here last night," kind of implying that James and Donna spent some time together. I don't know if Leland / Bob at this point is trying to make James and Donna uncomfortable, but he certainly rubs it in about Madeline being disappointed that they didn't turn up. Jeez. I don't know if it's harder for Bob at this stage to be inconspicuous, because we see Leland walk down the stairs and he kind of has to stop. It's almost like he has to keep composing himself to control himself. Leland is known, I think, for being this very exuberant character who likes to sing and dance and is very friendly to everybody, and I think that his behaviour now is almost indistinguishable from that of the real Leland. So when we see him with the golf balls, or when James and Donna see him with the golf balls, that doesn't seem like an abnormal kind of thing to them. They are amused by it and not kind of disturbed and concerned for his sanity. There seems to be a little bit more detachment from Leland in regards to killing Madeline, as there was to him when he killed Laura. His behaviour with Teresa Banks was a little bit more like this Leland, kind of cold and callous and unable to see the horror of what he's done. Like, he has moments of that when he's killing Laura, but the Madeline murder seems like a clean dispatch, if you like. Less of an emotional battle, I guess. Something that Bob found easier to make Leland do.
Or is it 48?
This is a great scene with Ben and Jerry in the jail, because I think it's great to see their relationship. They're not like neither of them are kind of run-of-the-mill guys. Jerry is very amusing. His incompetency is extremely amusing. And then we get this unexpectedly sweet moment with the two brothers kind of morphing into kind of these children, and reminiscing about when they were boys and this beautiful girl danced for them in their bedroom when they were in their bunk beds, and it's such a touching moment. This scene with the girl dancing with the torchlight is very sensual, but there is an innocence about that sensuality that is so appealing. I think it's like how sexuality is kind of perceived from the eyes of children. Okay, so Lucy turns up at the sheriff's station with her sister. I mean, I like this actress. This is a very familiar actress to me. She's been in a lot of things, a lot of TV shows, a lot of movies, and she frequently plays kind of kooky characters, so for her to play Lucy's sister is not a stretch. However, I feel like we don't need her. We've already got Lucy. She's almost identical to Lucy, but kind of lacking a little bit of warmth, I think. So we see Leland dancing and, you know, having a great time at the Great Northern, and this is just an excellent piece of acting by Rewatch. He's just fascinating to watch at this stage, being completely consumed by Bob, basically. Being able to see him for who he is feels very kind of liberating as a viewer, to be able to recognise that maybe many of the times we've seen Leland in this kind of extremely heightened state might have been a kind of front, or it might have been a reaction to what was going on with Bob. And this is an excellent moment when, just after Harry and Cooper tell Leland that Ben has been arrested, and we see Leland come outside and cry. Seemingly the crying is genuine, and then it transforms into this horrific, radiant laughter, uncontrollable state of laughter. And I don't know if Cooper kind of maybe feels that, whether he senses something is not right, but he goes to see what's going on with Leland. This is like Bob's reaction, knowing that maybe he is not going to be stopped. He's just going to be able to keep doing this. Oh. Ben and Jerry, they kind of remind me of, they're a classic double act, like Laurel and Hardy. They kind of remind me of Dee Dee and Gogo from Beckett's Waiting for Godot. They're kind of always highly fighting but loving each other at the same time. So Bobby's determined to undertake another scheme in which he is trying to reach the top of some kind of imaginary financial pyramid that he wants to get to the top of. Clearly Shelley is in a very horrible position at home, so you can't sort of blame Bobby for wanting to take him and Shelley out of that kind of poverty to find a better life for the two of them. Okay, so we get the introduction of Norma's mother and her new husband. Again, I kind of feel you aren't really memorable in the entirety of the story of Twin Peaks. They're forgettable characters. They're not these moments with the introduction of such characters like this couple and Lucy's sister. It kind of feels like what today we would call filler. It's difficult to gauge the intentions of Mike or Philip Gerard, the one-armed man. Cooper, at one point in the episode earlier, he referred to him as someone who in past times might have been a shaman or a priest or a seer, which implies that he is a character to be respected and trusted, but some of the things that the one-armed man has done as Mike suggest otherwise. Suggest that he is not someone that anybody could actually trust, even though he wants to stop Bob. That just because he wants to stop Bob, it doesn't mean that he stands on the side of humanity. Seriously, how many times is Hank going to be able to pull the wool over Norma's eyes? And how many times is she going to say, okay, you've sweet talked me and I kind of forgive you for your wrongdoings? It is kind of annoying. It makes Norma seem needy and kind of a little bit pathetic, that she's so easily taken in by what is so obviously just a cover story by Hank to keep on getting away with all the crap that he's all the shit that he's pulling, That's a pretty funny moment with Lucy and Andy. And Lucy's proudly showing the baby like, this is kind of what the future's going to look like. And I think Pete is having fun with Catherine. Even though Catherine has, cheated on him with Ben, I think he actually is having so much fun with what she brings to his life that he kind of forgives that and doesn't really care about what she's done. He is happy to accept her for who she is and what she wants to do. There's just one moment when Pete is leaving that prison cell where we see kind of his look change, and it's almost a look of kind of jealousy, like, you dared to take her away from me. So we see Leland, and he's driving erratically, singing this show tune. When we cut to Cooper and Harry, Cooper is whistling, and it sounds kind of like he's whistling the same song. I'm not sure if he actually is, but if he is, that kind of suggests that he has some kind of psychic ability to tap into what's going on with Leland, perhaps even, unconsciously doing that. Cooper does ask Harry about road safety just before he even sees Leland's car approaching, so I think again we can assume that Cooper might have some kind of pre-knowledge of what is about to happen or some kind of psychic link to it. When we saw Leland approached by Harry and Cooper after driving like that, there is a sense that Leland is still struggling to kind of act normal, and when he pulls out his club to supposedly show Cooper, there is that kind of sense that he actually could just lose it and actually attack Cooper and possibly Harry. I think that's a believable threat. Bob is so cock-a-hoop at this stage that I think he would, try to get away with anything. I think he really genuinely believes that he's never going to get caught, and even if he's stopped by Cooper and Harry, that he could just knock them right down like Skittles.
At the time. But they got better. I was misinformed.
So here we see the clear difference between Harry and Cooper, and Harry relying on kind of real evidence, and Cooper working on this spiritual side. And because of what Gerard says, because of what Mike says, Cooper is pretty confident that Ben is not Bob. So I think Harry maybe is feeling a little like he finally has to take a line here to establish some kind of control in the investigation. And he's been so quiet so far about what Cooper has been up to with all the weird activities, and he's been so quiet about that. He's been accepting. But I think that finally when he has Ben in his grasp, right there within his grasp, and he is so close to finally putting this investigation to bed, that I think he just wants to end it right there and then, and for it not to keep on going, to have some kind of resolution. I think he really wants it at this stage. You have to wonder whether this reaction to wanting to arrest Ben is somehow connected to his emotional state in regards to what's happened with Josie. So we hear Cooper talking to Diane via his dictaphone, and what he says makes us realize, I think, that Cooper is on a journey that's purely his own, and that perhaps it's always been his alone to undertake this case, and that really what Harry has done has no bearing on what Cooper will do to achieve the correct answer, to really find out who killed Laura and Teresa. So we see Audrey come to Cooper's room, and I'm pretty sure that they kind of toned down Audrey's makeup, and her kind of dress sense starts to change in season 2 and makes her look a bit more sensible, mature, serious than she did. She's no longer that spoiled child who has to indulge in silly whims in order to get off on feeling good. Her experiences with Cooper, I think, are supposed to have changed her into this more intelligent, sensible girl. There is this lingering moment where we see Audrey and Cooper gaze at one another. Clearly there is chemistry between them. It's kind of a little bit sad to see that, because we know that nothing is going to happen between them. I think that we can tell that in this moment. So we end this episode seeing with Madeline's body found, kind of echoing the pilot episode, but the reveal of the body, the way they find the body is a little bit different. It's in this scene, it's dark and it's very crowded and noisy, and there's a lot of commotion, whereas when we found Laura it was much calmer and peaceful. And the sense of drama and commotion that we see around Madeline when her body is found is almost like reflecting the fact that things have escalated so much with the way Leland is, with the way Bob feels. I think there's just a general sense that there is an escalation of terror and horror, and the fact that Bob is completely out of control. There is that sense of panic among those who live in the community, who are experiencing the kind of trauma that Bob has left behind. It was an okay episode, I thought. I love the stuff with Leland, and Ray Wise's performance, I think, is just phenomenal in this episode. I think it's really fantastic. And of course, Frank Silva, who plays Bob when we see him in the reflection. Sense of disturbance we get from watching this villain try and conceal his evil underneath this smiling mask is just quite terrifying. Anyway, thank you for watching today. If you would like to comment below to tell me what you thought of this episode, or any of the storylines or any of the characters or the acting or whatever you think of it, I'd love to hear that. You can also subscribe to the channel if you want to keep updated with any of the rewatches I'm doing. I also do news videos on the new series in 2017. I will be doing some other videos in the coming months, Mark Frost's book launches, as well as some kind of stories about things that I've done Twin Peaks related. If you want to like stick around for anything to do with that, you can. And you can also follow me on Twitter if you like, at @TheLogSadie. And that is it for now. Okay, goodbye.